Today you will learn some of the best Azami placements for every map in Rainbow Six Siege right now, starting off with Bank. So the first map we're going to be having a look at then is the basement objective on the map Bank. Starting things off, we're going to come straight into the CCTV room, and a popular angle everyone likes to hold is the head height angle you can get on the actual bomb itself. This is a good angle and I don't want to ruin that, so what we're going to do is just expand upon that and make it a little bit safer for you guys to hold. So throw your first Azami barrier at about ankle height in line with this little button here in the middle, and we're just going to want to throw it towards the edge of this. And as you can see, you still keep this angle on the head height of the bomb, but you can then crouch and peek around the side and it will give you a little bit more cover. And from the attacking perspective, it also kind of blocks off some of the doorway back there, so it gives them a little bit more protection as well. Then what we're going to do is, obviously normally there'll be some kind of rotate in this wall. This is a very common rotate to have, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make it a little bit easier to kind of use that rotate, and we're just going to throw an Azami barrier at the bottom of the desk over there. And as you can see, once again, it kind of blocks off that angle that the attackers can just sit there and hold. So when you crouch through this hole, you should be safe, but you can also use that when peeking and swinging the actual doorway. Moving off of the A bomb then and moving over to the B side of the objective, we're going to make this a little bit easier to hold. Now obviously we're going to have some kind of rotate in this wall, and sometimes there's also a rotate somewhere in this wall. So what we're going to do is actually reinforce the B area of the map by making this part a lot more playable. And how we're going to do that is by using this table to our advantage. What we're going to do is just throw a Azami barrier on the back side of this, and then we can use that as cover. We can also use it while, you know, peeking these two angles that the attackers like to run through if they come up through the garage. The only thing you have to worry about is make sure you get this hatch, because otherwise they can just drop here and then you'll have to worry about too many angles at once. So make sure that hatch is reinforced. If they manage to get that open, you think they're going to drop through there, make sure you leave this area off the map. And if they come through vault as well, you can still hold and peek the vault while also having more cover from this side of the map as well. For your final two Azami barrier spots, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this part of the map a little bit easier to defend if they manage to get that hatch open. So what you're going to want to do is make it a little bit more safe for anyone who drops down there. So what we're going to do is just going to throw another Kiba barrier just a little bit lower on this part here, and as you can see, it's just going to give you a nice little head glitch that you can use on anyone who is in vault. For the final Azami spot, I actually don't really have one. What I would recommend is just keep your Azami barrier and kind of replenish any that get broken, because if anyone throws a frag grenade in here, or maybe they use their utility to destroy these, you're going to want to replace them with another one. So make sure you keep maybe one or two in your pocket so that you can replenish them throughout the round. But with that being said, that is how I would set up the basement objective on Bank. Let's move over to the next map. Here we are then on our next map. It is going to be Kanal. We are going to be doing the server and radar room objective, and the first thing we are going to do is create a lovely head glitch one-way angle on the entire hallway on this part of the map. So the first one you're going to want to do, you've got to be very careful when you throw this one. You're going to want to throw it in line with this grey part here. You're going to want to throw it around about there, in line with the actual like visibility. And then once the second one replenishes, you're going to want to throw your second one literally at around about the midpoint of this here. And as you can see, it's going to create a lovely one-way angle. It actually blocks off the head glitch that the attackers can get from here on you. If you throw it slightly more this way, it can block off that, but I find that you don't actually want to block off this angle, because otherwise your teammates and stuff can't fire back, and if you come here you can still swing and peek it as well. For the next angle then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to block off the line of sight onto the breach, because if you're playing behind this little desk here watching this hallway, you're not going to want to get shot from there if they manage to open it up. So just throw another Azami barrier there, block it off at head height, and then as you can see, this place just becomes a lot more secure. Now for the final two, it is really up to you. Once again, I highly recommend you kind of keep some in your pocket so that you can kind of replenish this. Either keep one or two available to redo this again, or you know, to do this again, or what you can do is throw one at the top end of this. This is going to make it so any attackers who manage to come up the stairs or come through the window will have to crouch walk through this doorway, so they won't be able to just sprint in and quickly shoot you in the back before you can realize, and hopefully someone on your team can give this call out before they can just sprint in and shoot you in the back. So with that being said, that is how I would set up the Kanal server and control room objective. Let's move over to the next one. Here we are then on our next map. As you can see, it's going to be the party room and office objective on Outback. The first thing you're going to want to do is throw your first Kiba barrier on this second down shelf. And what this is going to do is it's going to block off this angle for the attackers. But not only that, you can actually vault up on the back side of this, and then you can use your second one to create a one-way angle. So once it's replenished, throw your second one just on the tippy edge of that. And as you can see, it's going to make it so anyone who wants to come in through here is going to have to crouch their way through. Obviously they can destroy this, but even if they do, you still can use this as cover, and you can even peek the sides of it here just like this. What you're then going to want to do is use the cover of this to make a rotate here. I see a lot of people alternating between where they put their rotate. Some people put it on the left, some people put it on the right, but I recommend putting it on the middle right hand side or middle left hand side, depending on which way you're looking at it, but put it around about here. And once again, what this is going to do is make it so any attackers cannot see basically anything unless they destroy this. And then once they do destroy this, they're still not really going to be able to get much intel from the A bomb. Moving on to our next Kiba barrier spot, then what we're going to do is throw it on the lip of this one right here. As you can see, it's going to do something similar. It's going to block off the line of sight for any attackers, and any defenders playing behind here are still going to be able to swing and peek this angle. But what you can also do is jump up and get an angle on top if you still want to catch them off guard with a much higher angle. Now you can also make this one a one-way angle by throwing an Azami barrier there. I think this one is a lot more secure. As you can see, because you can still crouch and shoot anyone who's trying to destroy it. You can swing this way and punch it, shoot anyone who's punching it there. But obviously if they're trying to destroy it from this side, you can literally just crouch here and shoot them in the bottom chest. And then finally with your last one, it's completely up to you. There's a lot of different possibilities, experiment with it, but what I like to do is once again just throw it on the top end of this doorway, and that makes it so no attackers can just sprint in and gain complete access to the A bomb on its own. What they're going to have to do instead is crouch their way through, and anyone who's playing on the B bomb or even in this area of the map will still be able to get an angle on them. The only weakness is obviously if you do have a rotate in from a garage lounge into office supplies, this then does become a weak spot in your defense. So it is all up to you and how you set up this bomb site. With that being said though, that's how I would set up this objective. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and without further ado, let's move on to the next map. Here we are then on the next map. It is going to be Theme Park, and we are going to be doing the Armory and Throne Room objective. This one is extremely powerful for an Azami to play in, for the main reason of if you reinforce these walls. I'll give you a quick example here. If you've reinforced both of these walls, what you can do is you can actually open up the top of the wall and make it so if anyone puts a hard breach or anything on the other side of this wall to try and open it up, you can actually throw your impact grenades up here, and what that will do is it'll actually destroy anything that has been placed on this side. What that means is you can actually not even bring a Qaid or a bandit if you don't want to, and you can do the same for this wall as well. If you reinforce both of these and destroy out the top here, you can throw an impact grenade from here up to the top and destroy any hard breach device that's on the back side of this wall. With that being said though, let's move over to the actual Azami placements. The first one is going to go on the top of this door frame. It's just going to make it a little bit harder for the attackers just to rush in once again. The second one we're going to do is going to block off this line of sight that the attackers can get, which is going to throw it on the back side of this box. As you can see, it blocks off this angle completely while still allowing you to swing and peek here. But the next one, what we're going to do is throw one on the top of this doorway as well, making it very unappetizing for the attackers to push in through this objective. If you have someone playing behind Fire Pit and you have someone playing behind the Throne Room, basically both watching this hallway, you're basically guaranteed to get a few kills if they decide to push through here. But what's more likely is they will not even come through this way, especially if you have barbed wire and stuff, and instead they'll probably try and push around the other side. For the final two Kiba barriers, I like to throw one on the back side of this box here. What this does is it kind of blocks off anyone playing behind Throne Room. Anyone playing here can still get a nice angle on anyone who's crouching through here, but you can also then use it as cover and peek anyone who's coming up through this doorway. You can also hop up if you want to, but because it's not a very high box, I wouldn't recommend you do that. Instead, just use this angle here. And then with your final one, it is completely up to you. You can throw one like around about here and it'll do something similar. What I like to do is if I do want to put one here, I'll put it at ankle height, and what it will do is it will allow me to still stand here and peek it when throne, even though when I'm down here, it will block off that line of sight. And this will make it even easier for anyone to hold the throne. Obviously, this part of the map is already very easy to defend because this entire part of the throne is bulletproof, but this will just make it so much harder for them to even see that anyone is behind here. The only thing you then have to worry about is frag grenades, so make sure you bring a Jaeger, put some behind this throne, and put one in the fireplace area. But with that being said, this is a very strong site for Azami. I highly recommend you use this setup. Without further ado, let's move over to the next map. Here we are then on the next map. It is going to be Skyscraper, and the only bomb site I would really recommend bringing an Azami is either on the upstairs objective here or the bathroom and bedroom objective that I am on now. Starting things off then, the first thing we're going to do is create a one-way angle on the top of this doorway. If you throw a Kiba barrier right there, it basically excels this head glitch that a lot of people already like to use. As you can see, from an attacking point of view, they're going to have to look at this single pixel that your head is going to be in. Now, other than this Kiba barrier, I'd say the B bomb is quite well protected already. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the A bomb now, and we're going to kind of give ourselves a little bit more protection. And the way we're going to do that is by throwing an Azami barrier either on this side at ankle height or on this side at ankle height. It is really up to you. Experiment with both, see what you prefer. But if you throw it at ankle height, once again, it's going to give you a little bit more protection while still allowing you to peek over the top and shoot at anyone who's behind there, crouch, and use it as cover. You can also do a similar thing to this on the B bomb as well, give you a little bit more protection from anyone in here, and that's literally just going to give you this still angle to still peek, and you can come this side and shoot here as well, and your body's still going to be protected on this side. And with the final two, it is really up to you. Once again, I do say this quite often, but you can either use them and keep them in your pocket so that you can replenish the ones you already have. You can kind of throw one on the top end of this doorway. That's going to create another little one-way angle for you here. And another one I like to do is if I'm playing here and they're putting a lot of pressure on this window, what I will then do is throw one on the top of this doorway, making it so they can't just sprint in and swing very quickly. Instead, what they'll have to do is they'll have to crouch through and try and get an angle on you like that. But once again, it's completely up to you how you set up this bomb site. With that being said, then let's move over to the next map. Here we are then on the next map, and as you can see, it is going to be Nighthaven Labs. We're going to be doing the servers and command center objective. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is come straight into this room, and normally this wall will be reinforced, but 90% of the time they will somehow eventually manage to open this wall. It happens almost every single Nighthaven Labs game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce this doorway with the anticipation that they are going to open that up. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw an Azami barrier on the top there, so they have to crouch to even get an angle. It's going to make it so they have to crouch walk through, and they can't just sprint straight onto objective. On top of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a Kiba barrier here at ankle height. What this is going to do is it's going to give you cover while still allowing you to shoot at both of those objectives. And once again, I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and this creates kind of like a power position for you to play on. One thing I would say though, bring a Jaeger, put a Jaeger device down here. You might even want to put two back here because what it looks like a penis, I've just realized. But what this does is it allows you to hold this angle and really shoot back to any entry point that they're going to have from the B side objective. You can also chuck one up here, or you can chuck one up here, and what this is going to do is it's going to block off the line of sight from that doorway onto the A bomb. What I would recommend is throwing one on the back side of this at around that point, and as you can see, it's going to make it so you can still hop up here and shoot anyone there. Once again, if you throw one up here as well, it's going to create a nice little one-way angle for you. It's going to make it a lot less appetizing for anyone to come through that way. And what this does is it makes any attackers coming in through electrical a lot less enticed to come through this way. And even if they do, you're going to have an angle from there and an angle from there to shoot back at anyone coming through that doorway. As you can see from your angle, it's going to be a very nice way to hold it, and you're going to be able to swing back and forth and kind of hold off both sides sides at once. Now the one downside with this setup is all 5 of your Kiba barriers are going to be set up in this one room. So you're going to want at least one other person sat in command center at all times. I'd highly recommend you open up feet holes here and reinforce this wall so anyone playing behind the desk here can see if anyone's coming through and then shoot them here. If you want to swap out this one-way angle here and instead just put the one, what you can do is you can also throw one on the back side of this, make it a lot more viable for someone to play behind here, and then you can also hop up and you can even create a one-way angle here as well, I've just realized. But other than that, this is how I would set up all of my Kiba barriers on this site. I would play in the server side and I'd let my teammates worry about the A-bomb. With that being said, let's move over to the next map, Stadium Bravo. Moving on to the next map then, obviously it's going to be Stadium Bravo, and this is an interesting map because this one is kind of like a combination between Coastline and Border. To be completely honest with you, I actually hate Stadium Bravo, but what you can do is use elements from both of those maps that I've already spoken about to use those on these bomb sites as well. For example, you can just throw an Azami barrier around about this point and it's going to create a nice little corner for you to hide behind when also peeking over here. You can throw your next Kiba barrier once again around about this point on the wall, and it's once again going to block off this line of sight. You can throw it once again at ankle height and give yourself a head glitch, but it's all up to you. One thing I have found between the difference between Stadium Bravo objective here and Border objective here is the fact that there is not nearly as much emphasis on these two windows. Instead, it seems to be extremely easy for the attackers to come in through this side of the map and gain access to this room. So what I would recommend is reinforce all of these walls and not actually worry too much about this window, because not a lot of attackers seem to come through here from my experience. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to throw an Azami barrier on the top end of that. It's going to make it a lot less appetizing for the attackers to come through, and once again you can use this angle here to kind of shoot back at anyone who's in there. Once again, I throw another Azami barrier on the top end of this doorway, and you can kind of create a one-way angle if you would like to by throwing one at ankle height just on this little doorway here. And as you can see, you can kind of stand behind this and shoot back at anyone who's coming through that doorway, but it is going to leave you exposed if they manage to open up that reinforced wall. Another option is to obviously keep this one in your pocket and use it to replenish any of the ones that they end up destroying, because it's without a doubt they'll eventually destroy this one. You know, they'll probably destroy that one there, and to be honest, if anyone's got frag grenades, they're probably going to destroy these two as well. With that being said, let's move over to the final map in the video. Here we are then on our final map, and it is going to be Emerald Plains. And before we do jump into this one, I do have a few things to say. First and foremost, how the fuck does Emerald Plains have the highest ban rate out of any map in the game? Do you guys genuinely think Emerald Plains is that bad of a map? In my opinion, I think Emerald Plains is probably better than the majority of maps featured in this video. But with that stuff out of the way, let's then get into the Azami placements. Starting off then, we're going to block off some of the angles people can get on this doorway. The way we're going to do that is by throwing one at ankle height on the bomb once again. It's going to give you that little peek on the little window there, and it's also going to give anyone in this doorway a little bit more protection as well. Second one we're going to throw is going to be at the top end of this doorway, and what this is going to do is it's going to make it so anyone who's coming through this area of the map can't just sprint through once again. It's going to slow them down a little bit, and obviously you can still get this angle on the bomb as well, so you can kind of use it as a one-way angle. Moving on over to the B bomb, what we're going to do is we're going to throw one up there, once again kind of making a one-way angle, but not really, because the desk is actually quite low. And we're going to do a similar thing by throwing one on the top of this doorway, once again. Shut up, phone. Once again, kind of making a one-way angle, but not really, because I believe they can still get a little pixel peak there. Well, this one is quite strong, but this one not so much. Now, with your final Azami barrier, you can either throw one on the top of this doorway, or you can block off this window if you want to as well, I guess. But if you throw one there, what you can do is it gives anyone who's playing in this room a little bit more protection, so you can open up head holes and reinforce this side like this. And what that does is it gives a little bit of protection to anyone who's playing in the meeting area of this objective. And as you can see, it's quite a strong area of the map to hold. Now, the only thing you have to worry about is obviously having your toe shot. So if you want to throw a Kiba barrier here, that will give you the one-way angle up here still, while also protecting majority of your body for playing here, but you'd have to substitute one of the other ones to do so. With that being said, that is how I would set up this objective. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Click the video on screen to watch part 1, where I go over the more played maps in the game, such as Consular, Oregon, Clubhouse, Chalet, Coastline, Border, and Cafe.